Yeah, well, it was exactly what I. Yeah.
Mini kid, mini kid. We're trying to.
So in '87, I went to look at that.
That was my back in the day.
You know, it's just the road itself.
Ones on either side were sandy. The one second. I don't know.
But then you go back, those three mountains.
Early years.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but they want that.
Because I remember her telling us shortly after she was died.
You get a fire order.
Oh, I don't know.
Because he's the one that
We don't see them. They have.
Yeah.
But the big ones.
Of course, yeah. I will absolutely.
Sorry for your loss. You're correct.
Well,
Yeah,
but
I didn't want to figure it afterwards.
The one in between you.
Really?
Yeah. We didn't know that.
You didn't want to sit down.
I met you.
This is you.
Who's the big guy?
She followed me about the time here. It's just like random times, random days, and there she is. I'm like, dude, Kenny's house. Same for
Oh, no. So.
Oh.
Was that kind of? You want to sit on my couch?
That's why we're not in our.
Anytime you want to start a sign like that. I didn't know if you were waiting for us. So much for my watch being accurate. I'm sorry. Emily Dunn, one of the ministers at Youth and Universalist congregation in warm welcome to family and friends of Dan Gooley. Welcome to this time of abiding memory and abundant hope. We gather in this place of remembrance on this 10th day of December to lament the passing and commemorate the life of Dan Gooley, an unrepeatable expression of the human spirit, a caring son, playful younger brother, funny uncle, devoted team member, animal whisperer, restorer of cars, and keeper of an immaculate desk, who for 40 short years made this spinning blue-green planet his home. As we begin, I'd like to invite forward Dan's mother and sister, Cynthia Clapham and Samantha Ridge, to light a flame of remembrance. We kindle this flame in memory of Dan and in celebration of his life. Dan will be missed by so many. As we kindle this light, we acknowledge and recognize this as a time of sorrow and heartfelt remembrance. May we seek consolation together in the face of loss. Our opening reading is by Maureen Killeran. Open your hearts, my friends, and let yourself feel the reality of absence. Open your hearts and acknowledge that we gather in the presence of death. Open your hearts. Make room for the healing balm of connection, the release of forgiveness. No matter what pain dwells within your spirit, or how fragile the hope that struggles to be born, there is a place for you here, in life's holy circle of compassion and love. We are together this afternoon because life has touched us with deep grief, and we need one another. Just to be together, to look into others' faces and see the common expression of hurt, helps alleviate the loneliness and draws our hearts together in comfort. So understand, we are here to say yes to life's greatest expression, love. Love believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love, even in the midst of such a loss, never ends. Love, the love of a son, brother, nephew, uncle, mentor, colleague, and friend, a gift to so many. Let us mourn, for we have suffered a loss. Let our hearts be touched by that sadness, a sadness which simply reveals the depth of the love we have for Dan. Dan's death was a shock, sudden and unexpected at such a young age. In the midst of this tender time, it's especially important to gather together and bear witness to stories of Dan, to deepen our knowledge of who Dan was and what his presence meant in our world. As I talked with Cynthia and Samantha this past week, here is some of what I heard. Dan had an eye for beauty. Even as a child, he kept his environment just so, constantly arranging and rearranging his room, changing his world to match his latest vision. When he was a boy, he often claimed a string of Christmas lights for his very own during this season, wanting to create beauty in his own way. As an adult, Dan offered meticulous care to his home, his desk at work, and to his beloved Nissan Z. But beyond the care he offered to his environment, Dan was abundantly caring towards the people in his life. Thoughtful and generous, always giving what he could. He often got up unimaginably early in the morning to squeeze in enough hours to care for those he loved. At one time, he would call on a friend in the pre-dawn hours, then return home to care for his girlfriend and call his mom and to feed the animals who lived around his wooded home. The feral cats, the squirrels, the deer, and also the raccoons who would eat from his hand, and the skunk that would twine itself around his legs. He really loved watching and learning all the kinds of birds that came to his feeders. And all this before heading to work, to his job at Valhalla Cemetery, which was so important to him, where he showed up reliably and worked hard no matter what. Even after breaking his pelvis and being told he should be using an electric scooter to get around, he kept on walking, re-injuring himself so he could continue to care for family, friends, and colleagues. And that was a paradox at the heart of who Dan was. Dan never managed to offer the care for himself that he gave so abundantly to others. He was his own worst enemy, always taking the hard way for himself, neglectful of his own well-being. As a child, he would stubbornly continue to do things his own way, even when his family tried to protect him from harm. Even as an adult, he struggled to accept assistance or advice. No matter what was happening in his life, he never gave up believing that he could manage everything himself. For many years, Dan suffered from chronic pain from a series of injuries and tried to control it through self-medication. In recent years, Dan said that he felt like he had lost those years of his life. And during that time, his family often felt like they had lost him as a son and a brother. Back then, they feared each day getting the call that would let them know that he had died. They expected this loss years ago, but not now. The past 5 years had been so much better. Dan had returned to those he loved. He was reclaiming his hopes and his dreams for his home, his education, his friendships. Even for this holiday season, he was looking forward to lighting up his home and welcoming those he loved. So losing Dan has been a shock. He was in a great mood the day he died, in touch with his family and friends, his colleagues, joking around and looking forward to future plans. But there is a poison out there. After being healthy and doing so much better for years, Dan sought a way to relieve himself from serious emotional and physical pain on a Friday night. As his sister wrote in Dan's obituary, "Please understand that one bad choice can cost a life." Dan never knew what was in the substance he took. If he had, he never would have taken it. This can happen to anyone who buys an unregulated drug. Until November 4th, this kind of thing had happened to strangers. But this time, it happened to Dan. Dan would hate being the focus of all of this attention. He would be so sad that we are hurting now. And he would be so sorry that he had caused all this pain, because Dan was kind, always offering people his best. Even when he was faced with challenging people or a hard situation, he tried always to see the good in everyone. As I talked with Sam and Cynthia, it came through powerfully that despite all the pain and the challenges in his life, Dan was often lighthearted. He was funny and joyful. He and his mom joked about each other's driving, laughingly wondering how either of them managed when the other wasn't in the car. He always fell for his sister's teasing, even after 40 years experience. And he enjoyed giving her a hard time too. He loved making his nieces and nephews laugh, and loved bringing joy to his friends, colleagues, and extended family. Dan's absence is especially hard to bear, because he was always there for those he loved. In their last conversation, he told his mom, "I will be there for you. You can count on me." There were supposed to be so many more years. Dan's care quietly touched the lives of so many, bringing light into our world. And so, in our times of remembering Dan, in the hours, days, and years ahead, I hope we can find that we can touch just a little more of that light. Well, I'll now offer a little quiet music, and I invite you to come forward if you are so moved, to light a candle in honor of your own memories of Dan, as you remember a way that Dan brought light into your world.
My name is Hugh Jessup, and next to Samantha and to Cynthia, his mother and sister, I believe I know Dan all his life. I started to work at the university with his father in 1982, and Dan was, as you've seen in the pictures, quite the little character when he was younger, like that. And I'm afraid I'm the guy that got him started on cars. At the time, I had an 82 Nissan Turbo. And I used to take Sam and Dan in the car. You know, it had to be in the back where you put the luggage, because it's only a two-seater. And he'd roll around back there, but he'd never say anything. And then later, when he got to be about 5, he started with Matchbox cars. Dan had a unique thing with Matchbox cars. He liked playing with them, but I don't think he really liked sharing them with anybody. So he would bury them in the yard. And if you had a metal detector and went to Cynthia's house, you could probably find 150 Matchbox cars buried in the yard, which, as they become more expensive and collectible, I've been thinking about it. But anyway, so that was when Dan was 5. When he got to be about 10, he and his friend JC decided they wanted to go camping. Well, Cynthia asked me, since I live out near the lake and have a big meadow, if Dan and JC could go camping out there one night. And I said, absolutely. So they spent literally 2 hours putting up a tent that you should be able to put up in 5 minutes. And it didn't look quite right, but I didn't think it would fall down, so they thought they were done, and it started to get dark, and it was probably around 9 o'clock. And they decided, okay, it's time. We're going to the tent. Is that okay? I said, yeah, knock yourself out. Let's go to the tent. And understand that this is a little peninsula on the lake. So there's no danger for him at that age and for JC to have any kind of interaction with bad people. They were pretty safe. They're at the end of the dead-end road on the property. So I thought, well, this is going to be fun. They're going to have a great time. An hour went by. Everything was fine. Hour and a half went by. Everything was fine. 2 hours went by. Hugh, what? Can we come in? I went, yeah. I go, what's the matter? He goes, there's people down there all over the place. And they're making a lot of noise, and we're afraid. Any of you been around the lake? No, that anybody on the lake within 5 miles talking, you're going to hear them. And they're hearing people from the Four Winds, and they're hearing people from across the bay. And they decided that their camping adventure was over. So that was when Dan was 10. When he was about 15, I had an old truck and a big pasture. And I said, Dan, you want to go for a ride in the truck? I mean, off-road ride in the truck. Yeah. So we went banging around in the meadow and came back, and everything was fine. You know, Dan had a great time. I enjoyed his company. And then Dan got older, and he got his own car. This was first of all, he borrowed his mother's car. Do you see the wreck up here when you watch the pictures? That was also a 280ZX that his mother loved and would like to have today, except they've gotten exceptionally expensive. And the one thing I said to Dan is, if your mother ever lets you drive that car, don't go fast enough. Because I said, it has an independent suspension on the back, and if you get it airborne and you don't have it perfectly straight, when it comes down, it's going to roll over. If you watch the slide presentation, you'll see that Dan apparently didn't listen too well. The fact that he lived through that was amazing. There was not a body panel on that car. It was not scratched, dented, or otherwise broken. Dan was an adventurous young man. And in his recent times, with the support of Teresa and his sister and his mother, he managed to get a home. And as everybody said, Emily particularly, it was Dan's pride and joy. And he kept it neat as a pin. And really believed that that was, to me, his future. That he was going to have a long future, and he was doing everything correctly. And then this happened. So I'm sure some of you have other stories that are fun, but Dan was, I think the only one I'd finish with is, I had a very fast boat when I was younger. It went 75 miles an hour. That's a very fast boat. And I noticed there was a picture of the boat on this thing, but I can remember taking Dan and he's like sitting in the front. Go faster, go faster. And then when it got to over 45 miles an hour, he stopped saying go faster. I think he was afraid at his weight he was going to fly out of the boat, which might happen, but we were fairly careful. Anyway, I hope somebody else will come up and share some good stories about Dan, because he was a unique young man. He had things that I never understood, which was collecting watches, but I'm not a collector. But I'm sure some of you have other good stories. He's a great guy, and that's the way we want you to remember. Thank you.
Hello, is anyone who would like to jump over?
Oh, she's a good friend. She's a good friend. I'm gonna try, we'll see how this goes. So I wrote because I'm better at writing than I am at just ad-libbing, so. I have both too much to say about my brother and too little. Too much because I knew him for my entire remembered life, and too little because he had so much more life to live. And because I cannot share anything but the hoped-for future now. There's no relationship like a sibling. That person has lived your childhood with you, knows all the stories, relatives, events, and your parents in a way no one else can. Oh my goodness, I was fine. Nailed it. My brother is irreplaceable for so many reasons, but mainly for just being who he was. Losing him has felt like losing a limb. I'm still here, but I'm not whole without him. I was a typical older sister, and he was a typical younger brother. When we were kids, he would bug me when I just wanted to play with my friends, like he would. So I would pretend I didn't hear him. It's really nice. It was me. I'm just, yeah.
I blame her.
Yeah, that's right, Katie. Definitely me. When we were older, we would argue and bicker and smack each other. I cracked my wrist once trying to punch him. But as siblings do, we looked out for each other. I was the only one who could say anything about him, no one else. And he cared how I was doing. He'd always ask me, "You doing okay?" or "What's good?" That was what he usually said to me, "What's good?" Dan always liked rap music, so to annoy him, I loved to call him up and do a few lines of Eminem or Dr. Dre. Dan did not love that as much. When we went through a weird musical phase, Tom York, I don't know, it was weird. I never let him live it down, and he would say, "We don't have to talk about that." Giving him a hard time was one of my favorite things. He'd usually laugh or give it right back. This summer when Dad was so sick, I skipped my makeup one day, and I showed up to his work looking unlike my usual self. He kept asking about my makeup or what was wrong with me, and I told him I didn't think anyone would notice. He said, "Well, you thought wrong," and spent most of the time laughing. Although by the metrics Dan used, I was the better sibling, and we talked about him being the squeaky wheel. By many other standards, Dan was the best. I hold a grudge for eternity, but come on, for eternity. But Dan would continue to be devoted and generous, even to people in situations which were pretty undeserving. We had a conversation this summer where I told him that you're a better person than I am because I would have given up on that a long time ago. He was still trying to do what he thought was right. I was disparaging and he was kind. When I was fighting deep sadness and regret after Dad died, Dan made a point to tell me all of the times they talked and how proud Dad was of me. Never doubt that, Sam. He said to me many times, even though I knew his heart was broken, he wanted me to feel better. When Mom and I were going through some things at his house, we found his big book, which is over there. For those of you who don't know, that is kind of the AA Bible. Dan received that at inpatient in his late 20s. It wasn't hidden in a box or in a bookcase. It was in his bedroom and his dresser where he would have seen it every day. He wanted to be healthy, and I believe he would have had another chance at sobriety if he hadn't been taken from us. The last time I saw him, we met at a storage unit to go through some of Dad's things. There was a decorative clock we grew up with, and both of us liked it. So we immediately did what my own kids do to solve a debate: rock, paper, scissors, best out of the week. Dan won't, but he said I should take it anyway. I tried to give it to him, and he told me I could have it for now. And I said I'd store it, but if he wanted it, he could have it. The clock is in my family room, and I can give him whenever I see it. I am empty beyond words, and I'm sad and angry. I do know what Dan would want. He would want me to be happy and loving. He would want me to take his cat, which I like. He would want me to make sure Mom is okay, and he would want me to keep adding to my house's Christmas lights. We both discovered independently that we did our entire houses in blue. It's kind of fun. He would want me to help others when I can, and that's one reason Mom and I have been clear about what happened. If we can help anyone else, that's what my brother would have wanted. If we can help other families avoid ending up here, he would want that. Because he cared so much about everyone, and I will always care about him and make sure his life and memories honored by words and by actions. And he will always be my brother.
For you that don't know me, I'm Chris Stoker. I worked with Dan for the last 5 years at Valhalla. And yeah, I've got a lot of bullet points here and a lot of things that have been said already that I definitely couldn't say any better. So yeah, I'll try to just get through this. And you know, I've been told I'm pretty stoic, but it's hard to not be emotional when you lose a friend. And 5 years ago, when me and Dan first met, even when we talked more recently, he'd always remind me of, you know, when you walked in that door, I didn't think I was going to like it very much. And he said, but I found out real quickly what you were about and who you were. And I always respected Dan for being very upfront, very honest, and always being there. Because as you know, when you're at work, you come up on things that are unexpected that need to be taken care of, and he was always there to help me take care of those things when I was at work. But throughout the years, we became closer and closer. We would talk each day on the phone, or maybe even through text messages, and not a day would go by that I didn't talk to him, especially in the last several months after he lost his father and his girlfriend, all within a month. I remember he reached out to me the day he found out about his girlfriend. I wasn't in town, I was out of state, but I certainly stepped out the door to make sure to have a nice long conversation because I didn't like hearing him hurt like that. Throughout the last several months after that, me and him got a lot closer and spent many nights talking on the phone, and it could be anything and everything. But I can't say enough about it. So a lot of, you know, what has already been said, yes, he definitely a car guy. And one story I remember and I like to share is when I purchased a Dodge Charger. As we all know, it's a car and all this. And first day I came pulling up with it, I was excited to tell him about it because, again, we've always talked about the cars we had and motorcycles or things we had in the past. And he walks out, and before I even got out of the car, he was standing there at the door looking at this thing going, yeah, it's kind of nice. I got about 2 or 3 cars at home and just smoked that. And we'd always talk about, well, one day we'll get together and we'll have some drag races and we'll go for a ride. And we'll, you know, and we did that a couple times and we had some fun. So ultimately, he became a lot more than a coworker. He became one of my best friends through the years. And there's things, being at work, being a coworker, there's things I come across every day that remind me of him. I saw the text messages that we sent, and a lot of the pictures that he sent, and buying that new scooter that he bought, and showing me pictures of the Z, and saying, look, this thing's smoky, you just need to step up your vehicle game there, buddy. And, you know, there's so much more I could say, but to close it out, you know, I'll always remember Dan, and remember that ultimately, he did always have your back. He would do anything for you, and he would go above and beyond to make sure that he took care of you. Even when I knew that he needed taken care of, he would always say, don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And I would call him again and again and ask him. And he would always say, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. So I know at this point, none of us expected to lose him. And this is, you know, it's difficult. But, you know, he would want us to live a good life. And, you know, I will remember him and try to do that and honor him each day. So I appreciate you all letting me come and speak. And, you know, I will miss Dan, but we had a lot of good times too. So thank you.
I don't remember Dan very much. My good friend Cynthia and I were co-workers for many years, and Sam and Dan were just young kids. Dan was always off playing. I remember Sam more because being a girl, you know, she'd hang around the house. Dan was usually off doing something. What I do remember was a little over 15 years ago, my husband and I lost our daughter, his daughter, to heroin. And we were shocked. We had no idea. You think you know your own kids. And I remember Cynthia calling me and telling me that that weekend Dan had some sort of episode or something to do with drugs, and how fearful Cynthia also was. And I was always encouraged that Dan had seemed to turn his life around. What I just want to share with everyone is addiction is, I'm sure several of you have family members and friends who've been in this place, but it's something that has to be shared and talked about. It's not anything that you hide. It's constant. It's a disease that needs proper treatment, not to be put away and jailed. And it's ongoing. I mean, look, our daughter's been dead almost 16 years. And look what happened to Dan. Anyway, that's all I want to say is you never want to share this with anybody else. But it's very common. And we should all be there for each other. And then, thank you.
I'll do the best I can through this. I'm a way emotional person. I'm like pressed to go through that
Dan is a very kind, gentle person. And we've heard all this, right? He loves cats, he loves animals. He loves things that are shiny, which is why I wore the watch. As you wear my Browning watch, it's not a shiny watch. I wore that in memory of Dan. He loved his Z, he loved Nissans, which is why I got a Z a few years ago, ended up breaking my Z. I've wanted a Z ever since, but my wife told me I can't have one because she doesn't want me to get hurt. But now I think I have a Z, and I'm gonna fix that up. Pretty Cynthia. We can't watch too many movies that Channing Tatum is in because it looks like Dan. You just have a pretty big resemblance of that. And again, this really should not have happened. It really should not have happened. He lost his dad, his girlfriend recently, and that's just a ton of pain on its own. And his pain with his body that he went through. And, Sam talked about it's a big book. I'm 3 years sober today. And it's a great program. I just don't think that Dan had a chance to really work inside of that very much. And whoever spoke was right, that you can't keep it hidden. And it is a disease, and then it becomes a thinking person's disease. It becomes not an addiction. It's your brain is thinking a certain way, and you can't break that without the tools. And there are great tools out there. It's a great program. It's very simple to follow, and then we say it works if you work it. And that we will receive the promises before we're halfway through that book, and that's real. It's not a church. I had a hard time with church and God, but now I do have a higher power, and I just wish that I could have sat down with my brother-in-law, and I couldn't. It's really all I have. I just wish that Dan was still here. You guys did a great job. And he has a great mother. His mom loves him a lot. That's pretty much it.
I told him I wouldn't cry. But I'm gonna cry. My name is Mark. I work for Dan. As a general manager, I'm responsible to my people. Always. I met Dan 14 months ago, roughly. And him and I became fast friends. He was the keeper of the secrets. He knew everything about all of us. And we all talked to him. He did an amazing job with the families. We would have problems, we would have situations, and we'd work those out to make sure families were taken care of. I think it's amazingly thoughtful and courageous to put the words you did in that obituary. Too many times addiction is pushed to the side. I've personally written obituaries where I said they died unexpectedly because we need to kind of put that under the rug. That obituary affected all of us. And the words you chose and what it said. I hope it helps one person. And now I find myself as a leader in my organization, and I have another employee right now in jail because of alcohol. I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling to be the person they need me to be. It's been a hell of a road. Recently, I talk to Dan every day. I'm a better person for him, and I think all of us. The hole he's left alcoholic is nearly impossible to fill. This team has done their darndest to stay together. And through all that, we've tried to do to keep that business rolling. And I still continue to struggle to find the right pieces in the holes. I'm happy to announce that Pam starts tomorrow or on Monday at Valhalla. I talked to Dan last Friday, the Friday he passed at 5:54. Was he talking about himself? Was he talking about me? We were talking about Pam. We need to get Pam here to help him with the load so that we can serve the families properly and he didn't get behind in his paperwork and things. And so it's taken me a little bit of a minute, unfortunately, with the red tape that I deal with in my situation to get that done, but she starts Monday and I'm happy because it's kind of like paying it forward to Dan because he wanted Pam back. And we talked about that for 6 months. Companies are hard to work for these days. They're really hard. We say we care, but sometimes our actions are something other than that. Dan deserved better. And when I couldn't get him a raise, I paid him out of my own pocket to make sure that he did okay. And I did that for months. And that's not a badge of honor for you. It's just that I wanted the best for him. And I've been blessed with almost a 30-year marriage and 2 beautiful kids and now a grandchild. And Dan always says, I want what you have. And I want him to have it too. And this life unfulfilled, he deserved those things. So I don't think any of us will forget him anytime soon. He's making an indelible vision on all of us. And so I wish you all the best. This can be a hard holiday for all of us. Yeah. But the only way we can do it is to take it together. So bless you all. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Kim. And I didn't know Dan very long, but he was a wonderful friend to one of my best friends. He went over every morning to check on her to make sure that she was alive. And helped her do things that she needed done. I have 9 brothers. And 4 of them are addicts. And I just wanted to say that, what you said about addiction is people need to not sweep it under the rug. It needs to be put out in the open, and people need help. And my biggest fear is that I'm going to be the big sister that's going to be doing what you have had to do for Dan. Dan was a very kind person. He was always very nice to me. But I just wanted to say, I do know what it's like to have siblings who struggle with drug addiction. because I deal with it every day. And my condolences to all of you, his work family, his mom and his sister, nieces, nephews. I pray that God gives you peace and comfort during this difficult time.
Thank you.
I'm Vanessa. I was Dan's niece. I think in every family, there's cliches. There's the weird uncle, the fun aunt. But I have an Uncle Dan, and he just every holiday it was is Uncle Dan gonna be there? And he missed a lot. He missed a lot of Thanksgivings and Christmases at our house because either he was sick or he didn't want us to be disappointed with him. But the thing is you could never be disappointed with Uncle Dan. Just his presence was enough. He was a great person. And considering I'm going to IU next year, I would have been spending a lot more time with him. And I deeply regret his passing because I know that I won't be able to. One thing about Dan that I've yet to hear is his earpiece.
Earpiece.
Anytime I saw Uncle Dan, he had that earpiece in his ear, and it made him look like he was from the future. In addition to that, he had a haircut like the one guy, Robert De Niro in Taxi Drivers. So seeing Uncle Dan, not only did it fill my heart, because I never really saw him, it made me laugh. And I know that that's what he would want, is to have us laughing. That's not it.
Thank you, Vanessa.
A vision rose of all of us holding our earpiece and listening for Dan's presence in our lives. Still there, still hear those messages, still feel those stories coming through us, among us, shared with one another. Dan? I invite you to a time of quiet reflection. A few words from Kenneth Collier. I do not know where we go when we die, and I do not know what the soul is, or what death is, or when, or why. What I know is that the song once sung cannot be unsung, and the life once lived cannot be unlived, and the love once loved cannot be unloved. And so Dan is with us, today and always, having lived lives side by side for a time. In closing, I invite you to rise, embody your spirit, and if you are willing, to join hands with your neighbors. Hands, touch hands. These hands you hold now once held Dan's hands. Hand by hand, we touch those who are here with us and those who are no longer with us. Hand by hand, we touch all of humanity. Let hands touching remind us Dan is no longer with us, but he is in us because his life touched ours. He is in our memories, he is in our stories, he is in the way we move in this world. Let us go into the world knowing we carry Dan with us everywhere we go. May it ever be so. Amen. As we leave here today, may your heart be comforted, because despite all and always, there is love.
That is unbelievable. You want me to do the walk? I shall say. On that. That's exciting. Yeah.
Sure they do. Dumb kids. I could have gotten up. Nobody wanted to do that. No, I wouldn't. Of course. Yes, Dan. Can't thank you again. Well, I can't hear you. I don't see you.
And he was like, and I had every color. Bad influence. Same thought.
So say goodbye to somebody.
That was lovely. He wouldn't believe it. You guys see it.
It's okay. Is it all in different languages? Gooley Service versus just receiving this box. It's easy to hear. We can't ever forget that. Ever, ever, ever. Something different.
I'm gonna go get the car.
Yeah, I
Well, I don't think we should be able
To, you know, the survey that you take. Just recently, so she did her. Now it's just you.
No, I know, it's easy to get copies. I can go today and see what it's.
Your mommy take you to ice cream after this, because you had to sit.
Oh, if you don't know. If you know, you know.
Yes, no, great.
Sorry, graduate. No, I
$3 down now. That's huge. You can always mess me through saying I'm severely.
No. No! I wanna remind me your prayer, baby.
That's okay. That's okay. Right. Okay.
All right, I'll meet you up.
Okay.
I guess it was expected my water was
That's what I want to do.
Steve.
Last time I talked to her.
When Dan was down, this made him so emotional. Yes. Yeah, that's what Dan was.
So what I told her was,
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, same thing happened. That's the one. And
So I found a way to call him. Google Voice, you can call people. He said that my mom is completely lost the plot and she went over. So she went down 2 days ago. She went there 5 times. So people that run they're out of so now he's got to figure himself out. Matthew was sort of go to the doctor to see if she has all the alcohol right there. She's got liver. So I'm not, I've talked to him. Now that I'm in the patient, he's telling me, he told me, when he told me today, he's like, Touches like that. But that means a lot. That means a lot. Oh. Where's that name? Driving together. More years than I have. Keep it close to, I'll help look around too for something on the south side of the. Try to get together. Maybe John Bird. Close to the board carry drive to her house. No, James was coming. You need. She's later. But I don't know if she didn't like her. Yeah. That'd be fucking crazy. Yeah, that would. I wouldn't be.
Right before school. I was sitting on
Liar.
I'll definitely call you during the game. I don't know. I don't know what goes, what doesn't go.
Don't eat
Yeah.
Last time I saw you, Dan was with you.
Okay.
I don't know. I think like that. Love you. I'll see you there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you after.
See ya.
Yeah. Thanks for being there.
Tell everybody I said, hey.
I will.
Tell them a great example that they never see says hi.
Leighton talks about you all the
You know
time.
what?
Do I have a great great grandpa? I'm like, you do actually.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's
You know what, it's so funny, I think of you guys a lot. You know, it's not like I don't think of you. Next thing I can see my kids that much, but I always, every day or something that keeps going through my head. So, and, you know, it's not that I don't care about you or don't love you and stuff like that, because I do, you know. It's not a good person to get out and do what I should do.
the one we didn't.
Do you understand that?
I do. I love you.
I'm an old fart.
You're okay. We honestly, I think about it a lot, especially right now, you know, that we have. It's a lot for us sometimes. So like,
Thoughts
okay, I will.
are with me about it.
Yeah.
That's the way it is with John and stuff.
Good one.
Lucky, you know, lucky to have a good family, you know.
Well, I love you.
And a big family, a big family. I
Unconditionally.
know.
Be safe. Text me when you get home.
I will, I'll send you a text.
Okay.
Yeah, take care, John. I'll be talking to you. All right, sounds good, man. Thanks for coming.
I'll be here, no matter what. I'll call you during that game.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully at halftime, they're holding their own.
That's right, man.
I don't know when we're gonna get there. Which way are we going? I'm not sure.
What's that one?
Or we're going right
You have lucky real bad.
I don't know the grandma.
Okay,
now.
we didn't have. Call out, because we gotta make sure we can bag this call. Oh, crap.
I know, we gotta get the bag.
Oh,
It was on the floor.
That was
Yeah, we pulled off such a wonderful job. I appreciate that.
here's the box for the thing.
Thanks. Absolutely. This is not sturdy.
No.
Oh, Brett, I got, oh, no, sorry. Thank you so much. Here, Mom.
Wait, I was just thinking about the answer.
We're gonna go with food first and then Uncle Dan's probably.
Do I get to see the car?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what reason I come on?
Which car is that?
So, yeah, she's gonna be driving Dan's Buick that he drove most days.
Oh, yes,
And then
yeah. Very familiar with all the cars.
Mason will be driving the Durango.
Oh, there you go. You get the Durango.
I didn't know he had so many cars with
That's
rows.
the one I would choose. Yeah.
Yeah, Dan was
But
definitely,
you're not gonna get pulled over.
Oh, no. No.
oh, that he's the Crown Vic.
That's a Crown Vic.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, she'll be driving the Buick,
Buick,
so
that's
hopefully,
right, okay.
hopefully it'll be
There's
less
so
of
many
a,
cars in the.
That's what I know.
we did have a lot of cars. I have to see where Mom was.
There's one more back there.
We got this over.
One picture right there.
Oh, yeah.
In the.
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful flower. I'll go grab that.
Is there anything else you would like me to do?
Do we
Otherwise,
need
I'm
these
gonna.
flowers, Sam, or?
Yeah, we're gonna take them. I don't know which one. I told Mom I would take whatever she doesn't want.
That's from Valhalla.
So.
This is, well, this is birthday cake.
That's what I was. Is there a situation?
Dude, this is weird. Look at these.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. No,
Chris, do you know how it works out? I think when I order small, like mini urns.
Yeah.
Do you know when we get those?
Did you order it to the funeral home? Okay, so whoever you talk to at the funeral home, I just give them a call and say, hey, what's the status? What
That
key
was
takes? Yeah, what key takes? I know exactly what we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
If you got it to the funeral home, I mean,
Thanks, here.
I understand that, I think it's Amanda.
So where'd you put yours?
I think we switched to Marty.
Oh, it's in the back.
Marty.
I think so. Mom wanted
Marty,
to talk to
out of
Marty.
all my funeral directors I've met in 6 years, Marty's probably my favorite.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yes.
We're gonna load this.
Thanks, Bob.
I'll have to do that.
And yeah, he'll,
Hell no.
Mason, you're messed
get
up.
you taken care of.
Is Mason gonna get that one?
I don't know where this is
Oh,
going.
you get that one?
No, I like it that one. We just pulled it up. Yes,
That one's yours, bud.
sir.
All right. Thank you again.
Oh,
I'll see you over at.
Get this thing out of here.
I don't know.
It's all shoved in the phone. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes keep it that way.
You don't check this
The last locator starting work.
That's a situation.
Good. We'll be right there.
No, it's going to. Yes. Take it to your father. Well, your father's not there now. Give it to your father.
Hey, Dad, here's.
Okay, what about these things?
Good idea, Chris. That's a good idea.
Unfortunately, my mom's poor, so.
It's wonderful.
We already have it. We have the big big flowers.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Like you kind of working about being.
Well, thank you. I had all kinds of ones right now.
Yeah, that's how
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I've only had one every time. I
love you, but Did you already get the candles?
Right
No.
now, so I know.
Don't judge me.
Plus, you know, what I learned from AA is you never know or realize how you can touch them. You know, and sometimes one of
You and your sister can follow me in my car.
I listen to everyone.
Okay, well, this is
Don't
water.
forget to come back,
And I
that's
take
fine,
all
don't forget to come back in, because grandma's house is there.
Yeah, I just did go with me.
All those little things happen, and I remember.
Oh, yeah.
You just never know. That happens to me all the time. I didn't talk about Lindsay, so this is really fucked up. I finally got a Z. I knew a guy that owns a bunch of car places in Indy. He was like a badass Z dude, had 5,000 miles on it, for white, all the shit. And I took about $5,000 and dumped into it. Nothing crazy. Got it about 450 horsepower. And I was gonna bring it down to show Dan, and Dan had just got the house, he had a apartment in the house, and I do HVAC stuff. And I was him up my Z. You know what I was talking about? Exactly, I didn't know. When I got back to him, bullshit. I finally got my Z, and he didn't even want to talk about it. And she goes, you don't understand.
All right, I'll take this out and then I will be right back in the next.
Thank you.
Of course.
Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. I got a growing up. And when I called him, I could hear it in the voice, you know, word and whatever. Hey, I think that sounds like it. I'm not gonna tell you not to, but be careful. Be careful. I want to talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, there's nothing I could do, but if I would have known, I would have come here, took him to a meeting, and maybe been his sponsor for a minute. Because those are the key things I talked about this. You go to a meeting, you get a sponsor, what do you do? You find a true higher power or God, and you meditate, and that's it. That's how simple that component is, and it works. It does, man. It's a miracle. I mean, so what I love is I'm over my defense. That horrific childhood. I should be a joke. I love to fight. I'm just that guy, right? But now my defects are starting to slowly. I've been in therapy my whole life, and it hasn't touched it like it's miracle. But yeah, I knew where he was at. Like he called me a month ago, and he was just talking crazy. I'm like, why is he fucking so mad? And what things like that.
And that's, you know, I guess I'll just finish with, you know, I kind of touched on it, we got a lot of those. Yeah, and as soon as I got back, I talked to him today when I've been on vacation, and when we got back, I mean, we spent hours on the phone, and we texted, and even that week, he sent me, I didn't know how to work it in, but I said, on Monday, it was Halloween. I'm getting kids ready. We're going to go trick or treat. He's like, hey, man, you know, kids were talking about these. Hey, check this out.
Is that it?
Yeah. We were going back and forth, but next thing you know, it was like Tears for Fears. I'm going, where? You know,
That's awesome.
where did that come from? He was like, you know, it's good music. I said, it is, but, you know.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and so we're just going on work for, and that kind of stuff we talk about, you know, yeah, music, you don't it was my whole life that I didn't get much out there. Just me and my wife had a big fall now, and good deal.
Yeah.
And we had a lot in common. We found out a lot of things that, brought us even closer than we ever were, because we were friends for the last 4.5 years, sure. But in the last 5 months, he became one of my best friends. And so, and that's what's funny, because as you get older and you get away from high school and you realize life is totally different, that circle of friends gets smaller and smaller.
Yes, it does.
And I can honestly say at this point, I only had maybe 2 or 3 good friends. So,
I do too.
hey, right, and my one good friend,
Wow.
I've had since high school, and I might not talk to him for 2 or 3 months, but if I call him up and say, look, hey, he's a mechanic, and I'm like, hey, he's like, he's like over there, and the same thing, he needs me, I'm like,
I get my military friends.
I got
And then-
Samantha.
that's your friend.
Yeah, my military, it is, and then with AA, I hate them because what they did to me as a kid. But now with AA, I love these guys. There's not, I call my now the answer, my friend, they will help me. The first thing you say is, don't fucking drink, give me just a minute, let's go meet. I mean, it's just such a great promotion. So one day I was driving this whole thing, I really, I'm just not a good trade, I'm here for defects. But this guy, I talked about it, meetings, and it's like, we can't reach the job. Step 3, handle this, which is. So.
I mean, just saying,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I
When you
can,
say you want fun, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
yeah.
Physically?
Yeah, I'm not a bully.
Oh, shit. Go to a gym.
I did, I case filed, I did all that stuff. But I'm taking this person that did this new, what was in that, and to me, I treat this as this person as a bully, and he has no idea what the fuck is
Well, that's when you get in the ring, right? You
Yeah.
still can't like that.
I just hope that he gets this from what happened here, because all he can do is call.
That's my
Call right
first.
away, he might.
Favorite yellow line.
I won't take it then.
No, you can take it. Please.
No,
Please do, so I don't walk back there. You're making me laugh.
And I can look up on my phone, but it was probably.
John, do you know where we're going?
Cheddar. What is that?
And then.
There's the keepsake urn in here for you.
That's what.
Well, I
Put
paid
your
for
purse
You
or?
never know.
Sure.
No, you don't.
No.
That's
I want
what we-
some of those. I don't have any of
We
those.
talk every day,
Chris is
text
like,
at night, and then all of a sudden, that day, we were talking about things, and he's like, well, hey, man, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and we'll get all this figured out. And then I got